Hi, Fiction Recapped here. Today, I will explain to you the mystery horror movie called As Above, So Below. Spoilers ahead, watch out, and take care. The movie starts with an archaeologist, Scarlett, on her way to Iran to investigate caves that are ordered to be destroyed, which she believes hold important pieces of history. After getting off the bus, she meets up with an old friend of her father's, Reza, who helps her get into the caves through an entrance in his house. As the two descend down, they hide away from guards. Reza worriedly warns her that they are too late, but Scarlett isn't budging, saying how they have a few more minutes. Soon after, they reach their destination, which is a stone plate that seems to have something written on it. Scarlett is ecstatic, but soon after starts hitting the plate, believing there's something beneath it. After successfully breaking through, they find what appears to be a statue of a bull that Scarlett calls the Rose Key, which has similar writings on it like on the previously destroyed stone plate. Reza, in worry, tells her that he needs to leave because he has a family, but warns her to stay safe. Right when she finishes filming the writings on the statue, an ominous whisper calls out her name. But when she turns around, the only thing she sees is what it appears to be a hallucination of a man who hung himself. Distracted by that, she's caught off guard when the bombing of the cave starts, narrowly escaping the cave collapsing. Reza helps her get to safety, comparing her to her father, worried that she will go crazy in her search for the Flamel's stone, finally revealing Scarlett's quest. In the next scene, Scarlett is seen giving an interview to Benji, a cameraman who will help her in her research. She briefly explains her numerous PhDs and her knowledge in several spoken and dead languages, alongside what her father taught her in the terms of the Philosopher's Stone, also known as Flamel's Stone, whose ability is to turn metal into gold and offer eternal life. Later on, as they walk around the city, she explains Flamel's history and mentions how his tombstone, that was designed by himself, hides the location of the Philosopher's Stone in a language that seems to be the only one she isn't familiar with. Luckily, Scarlett mentions having a friend who does understand it. The two make their way to meet her old friend George, who seems to be fixing an old clock in a church, but doesn't welcome her with open arms, refusing to help her, revealing that she seems to have a history of reckless behavior. After a bit of convincing, he ultimately agrees to help her translate the key, but nothing else. Later on, the three return to Flamel's tombstone, George translating the code, which seems to make no sense at first, but Scarlett figures out that the true location is behind a stone plate, which reveals a riddle of the place where the stone is hidden. Using her father's notes, they come to the conclusion that the stone is somewhere underneath the Parisian Catacombs, more precisely 741 feet beneath the ground, due to the alchemist's belief that that's where the gates of hell reside. They find a way to get inside, but George doesn't want to go further due to some trauma he carries that is somehow connected to the caves. In the next scene, Benji and Scarlett seem to be exploring the catacombs with a tourist group, where they see a man who tells them that if they want to find a way through the catacombs, they need to find a man named Papillon. But when they get distracted by the tourist guide asking them to come back to the group, the man disappears, similarly to that time in Iranian caves. After meeting up with George, the three go to the place the man told them to meet Papillon at, where Scarlett manages to convince him to help them by telling them about the treasure. The three, alongside Papillon's two friends, Zed and Suxi, make their way towards the secret tunnel into the catacombs, where George is forced to join them due to the sudden attack by the police that the group barely escape. When they're inside, Scarlett tells Benji about George's trauma, revealing that his little brother drowned in a cave when they were young. As the group continues through the tunnels, they come across what appears to be a cult meeting, but quickly move away after one of the members notices them. Unfortunately, they soon come to their first obstacle, which is whether they're going to climb over a wall of bones or go through a tunnel that's clearly sealed for a reason. Papillon argues that the shorter way is more dangerous, giving them an example of his friend Latoupe, who disappeared in the tunnels, and even though Scarlett wishes to reach their destination quicker, agrees for them to go through the longer path over the bones, much to Benji's disagreement due to his fear of closed spaces. He starts hyperventilating while making his way over the wall, causing the bones to collapse, but luckily manages to go through unhurt. But the group somehow loop back to where they were before, even though Papillon was certain that will get them to their destination. The group is forced to go through the tunnel, where they see Papillon's signature graffiti, even though he swears he was never there. While the group argues, a phone rings somewhere further into the catacombs, which scares them, but considering they got this far, doesn't stop them from moving forward. On their way there, they come across a piano that George says is the exact replica of the one he had when he was a kid, down to its broken key. The phone rings again, making Scarlet run off to find it, the group following her warily, but when she answers the phone, a voice, similar to the one that whispered her name in Iran, asks her why won't she talk to him. Scarlet hangs up, but before they can process what happened, Latoupe interrupts them, telling them to follow him if they want to find their way out. Even though the group is shocked to see Papillon's missing friend, they decide to go after him, ultimately coming across a well that they need to go down through to get to their goal. While getting down to the room under the well, Benji hurts his hand due to the complications with the rope, but aside from the trauma he will carry from it, comes out unscathed. Once they get down the well, they come across what appears to be something like an anechoic chamber, where they're unable to hear one another from the dullness of air. But suddenly, loud screams fill the room, making the group run for it in panic. In their panic, they miss out to notice a young boy staring at them from the corner of the tunnel. Soon after, they find a room with a dead end, but Scarlet finds a symbol on the wall that is mentioned in the riddle they found on Flamel's tombstone, which shows them a way towards yet another riddle, because nothing can be finished easily down there, that George and Scarlet quickly solve, revealing a way down the tunnel. In the tunnel, they find a corpse of a man who's been buried for 700 years, but somehow managed to not rot. Scarlet soon after figures out that they need to go further, finding yet another tunnel through the water. Scarlet recklessly goes through it, finding a room filled with gold, which is also their destination. Scarlet isn't impressed by the gold as much as the metal plate with the Philosopher's Stone in it. Unfortunately, she realizes too late that the treasure which Papillon and his friends have been trying to take is a trap, and as soon as they open the gates to it, the cave starts collapsing. Surprisingly, they all manage to come out alive and mostly unhurt, aside from Zed's broken nose and Suxi's hurt arm. Before they can find the medkit, Scarlet accidentally heals Suxi with the Philosopher's Stone by touching her with it. They move around trying to find a door out of the ruins, finding a tunnel underneath the catacombs. They go into the room with a passage above which says, "Abandon all hope, ye who enter here," which is what is written over the gates of hell. Realizing that they have no other way out, they move forward, finding themselves back in the room with the stone. Except in this room, everything is flipped upside down. Suddenly, the door from which they came through closes, and they are forced to move forward into the catacombs, where they once again find themselves in the room with the corpse, where Latoupe is sitting in the corner. Suxi, trying to check on him, comes closer, but ends up getting attacked by him, dying from getting her head bashed into the ground. Papillon gently covers her face, and the group continues their journey, still in shock over what happened. The group makes their way through the tunnels, going deeper and deeper inside. For the second time, some voice whispers Scarlet's name, the group thinking it's Benji, who is the last one to get down to the rest of them. Before he is able to do that, the same cult member who noticed the group attacks him, throwing his body down the tunnel, killing him instantly. Scarlet is very distressed, crying out for him, but the group is forced to move forward, going through a bridge made of bones. Underneath them, George sees a hallucination of his younger brother and tries to pull him out, ignoring Scarlet's pleas for him to stop. Somehow, she manages to convince him that what he sees isn't real, and the four cautiously continue their journey. In one of the rooms, they see a burning car with the same man who told Benji and Scarlet about Papillon inside it. Papillon screams how it wasn't his fault, the burning car clearly resembling a mistake he made in the past that caused the man's death, as the flames pull him towards the car, burying him underground with only his feet visible above the ground. The remaining 3 survivors move forward, weird noises of screams and cries following them, when they come across a dark moving figure, scrambling to find a place to hide from it. While they're hiding, George admits that his time with Scarlett was the best he ever had, because apparently they can only confess something like that in horrible situations. In the next scene, the three find a room with a hooded figure sitting in a single chair in the middle of it. Before they can get out of the room, the man stands from the chair, causing the three to run away, hiding next to a wall with what appears to be statues of people inside of them. While they're distracted by the hooded man who's walking around, George gets attacked by one of the statues, coming out extremely wounded. Zed, who's somehow still alive, and Scarlett drag him towards safety, where Scarlett can heal him with the stone, but unfortunately, it isn't working. Scarlett realizes that the stone she has isn't the right one, and decides to go back through the catacombs, leaving Zed to take care of George. She goes through the rooms, seeing all the horrors they passed through again, when she finally manages to reach the place where the right stone is supposed to be placed at. When she puts back the stone she had, nothing happens. Meanwhile, Zed and George are still trying to hide from the hooded figure. Scarlett makes her way back, repeating the riddle that got them to the gates of hell, easily dealing with the attacks of entities in the catacombs. On her way there, she's once again met with the hallucination of the man who hung himself, revealing that that's her father. She hugs him and apologizes for not answering the phone the night he killed himself, also revealing that the phone call she received previously was him. Finally, she gets to the other two, healing George, but they don't take the time to celebrate, moving forward in their hopes of finding a way out. The three come across a well, Scarlett telling them that they need to jump down it, to repent for their sins and deal with the guilt that follows them. They all confess about what troubles them and jump together. When they land, they find a door out, which leads them to come back next to the Notre Dame Cathedral, George and Scarlett embracing while Zed walks away alone. The movie ends with the interview Scarlett did at the beginning, in which she reveals that the only thing she truly wants is the truth. Subscribe for more videos like this, turn on notifications, and leave a like to help the channel out. Thanks for watching.